Yo, what's going on, guys? Mush back at it with another edition of Top 5 Best Graphics Cards for the money for the month of December. Haven't done this series in a while. It's kind of hard to do with the volatility of GPU prices, but that's more reason to do it because I know you guys need some guidance on picking up GPUs and getting them for a good price, and knowing what are the best value-centric graphics cards. GPU prices are still pretty crazy. Honestly, doing this series and having to look at every single GPU and look at the pricing of this made me want to almost cry at how expensive some of these graphics cards are. Not that bad. I'm not gonna get all too emotional over GPU prices, but if you're in the market of buying a GPU, it's kind of a rough time. But nonetheless, there are still some fairly decent options, so let's get right into this with the top 5 best graphics cards for your money for the month of December. As always, we just rank these from cheapest to most expensive, so let's get right into it with number 5. Number 5 is the PowerColor Radeon Radeon RX 560. This is a 4GB GPU going for around $120, and this is a perfect entry-level GPU for quality 1080p gaming. You're gonna want to put this in a very budget-oriented build, you know, your $400 PC builds. Something like this is absolutely perfect, and while it won't max out every game at 1080p, if you play at a mix of around medium to high settings, you are gonna get good performance in the latest games. And if you're playing older titles such as Skyrim, Left 4 Dead, or lower-end titles like your Counter-Strike Global Offensive, or League of Legends, obviously this GPU is gonna rip through those games. Also, if you pick up the RX 560 right now, you do get a free gift from AMD, the Quake Champions pack. So if you're into that, you have that too. Newegg values that at $40. I don't really value it at that, but nonetheless, a freebie is a freebie. Moving on to number 4, the ASUS GeForce GTX 1050 Ti. There is a great deal on this right now. This is a 4GB GPU. It is $160 on Newegg, but it has a $10 mail-in rebate attached to it, so $150 after that. That's a pretty good deal for a 1050 Ti. You typically see this around the $170 to $180 range, and at that point, you probably should just get a 3GB 1060, but this is a very palatable price point for the 1050 Ti, especially if you take advantage of that mail-in rebate. Once again, this is a high-quality 1080p GPU that's on the cheaper side, obviously will perform better than the 560, and is a more capable 1080p graphics card, but I would not push it to do 1440p gaming. 1080p is a perfect sweet spot for this GPU. Moving on to number 3, we've got the EVGA GeForce GTX 1060 ACX 2.0 3GB GPU. This goes for around $200. That is with a sale over on Newegg, and they've got a $10 mail-in rebate attached to it, so $190 for a 3GB 1060 is quite good. This GPU far exceeds the performance of the 1050 Ti, so if you're debating between those two GPUs, if you have the extra cash to spend, I would highly recommend getting the 3GB 1060. Yes, the fact that it's a 3GB GPU kind of sucks, but for 1080p gaming, which once again, the 3GB 1060 is ideal for that, I would not push 1440p with this GPU, although you can do it a little bit. 1080p is ideal, and the latest games are gonna run really well. Games like Assassin's Creed Origins, Wolfenstein 2, The Evil Within 2, all of your latest games that have released this year, the 1060 is gonna do a good job on all of those, and even with it being a 3GB model, for the price that you're paying, it's pretty good, and the 6GB model is a lot more expensive. If you want a 6GB 1060, that's gonna go for around $250, and while that is arguably worth it, if you're on a tighter budget, the 3GB 1060 is gonna fit the bill in a lot of more budget and builds. For number 2, I did want to give a mention to the XFX Radeon RX 580 8GB GPU. Now, the 580 8GB are actually slowly going down in price. If you're lucky enough to cop one on Black Friday, you could find them for like $230, but they went out of stock very quickly. Right now, Newegg has got it for a whopping $290. There's a $20 mail-in rebate, knocking it down to $270. That is a very expensive price, but it was worse than that, believe it or not, for the 580. This GPU just went for crazy prices. About a month or two ago, it was absolute insanity, but the 580 is a very good GPU. You really have to pick between this or a 6GB 1060. They are, believe it or not, around the same price. The 580 is a little bit more expensive from what I can see, but this is an 8GB GPU, and it is high quality. I just wish it was a little bit cheaper. Even at $250, I think that would be an okay price for this GPU. It's just that around this price point, there aren't a lot of options. It's either this or the 6GB 1060. Both are pretty good for the price, but I'm only saying that because both are the only options, and it's been that case for months now. But it is the holiday season, and usually GPUs are cheaper during this time, so who knows, maybe the 580 will go back up to north of $300 in the beginning of the year. So $270 after a mail-in rebate, while I'm not gonna lie to you and say that's a great deal, it's just kind of the price you have to pay. It's either this or a 6GB 1060, and right now on Newegg, the 6GB 1060s aren't that much cheaper. The cheapest 1060 6GB model comes from EVGA, and it's still $260, so mid-range GPU is just relatively expensive right now. Finally, number 1, I've got to give a mention to the MSI GeForce GTX 1070 Ti, the 8GB GPU. Right now, Newegg has got it for $470. There's also a $10 mail-in rebate attached to that, so $460 for a 1070 Ti is pretty good. This is gonna be a really great 1440p GPU. I would not pick up a 1070 Ti if all you're looking to do is play games at 1080p. This is a bit overkill for that, but if you want to be absolutely set at 1080p, if you want to be maxing out all the well-optimized games at that resolution and get 60 frames per second, then maybe get the 1070 Ti for that resolution. But games at 1440p look so good, and the 1070 Ti can still run them very well at that resolution, so that would be the ideal resolution for the 1070 Ti, especially considering you're dropping over $450 on a GPU. You might as well play games at a high resolution. Nonetheless, this is an exceptional GPU, and with 1070s being relatively expensive right now, I don't see one available for under $400 even after a rebate, so the 1070 Ti by default kind of becomes a better option. So that is gonna wrap up this video, guys. As always, thanks for watching. GPU prices are still a bit of a nightmare, not as bad as RAM prices, all things considered, but just not the ideal prices that I would like to see. You don't find many sales on them. The prices that you see are usually what you're gonna get, and if you do find a sale, it's usually only $10 to $20 off at max, which is kind of unfortunate. But as I've been saying for the last few months, hopefully it gets better sooner rather than later. If you guys have a request for a future video, as always, you can leave that in the comment section down below, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.